Amazing. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining me on my podcast, Let's Talk Horses, Life, Living. I have a returning guest. I'm so excited about this conversation today. And we were just having a quick pre-chat off air. And I said, let's hit record because I think all of these random conversations make for the best podcast. So Welcome back. Thank you so much, Jim Greendyk, for being here with me again. I'm so excited to follow on from our conversation from last time you were on the podcast.
I'm excited to be here. I mean, thank you for having me again. I always love to talk horses, and shoot, I love telling stories. So I mean, let's have at her.
And you know, I rebranded this podcast, I don't know, a few months ago because I was like, it's called Let's Talk Horses. That's what that was what it was originally called. And
sure.
You know, but a lot of the time, excuse me, and I re-listened to our conversation, our podcast, before recording again, just to remind myself about that conversation, because it was actually in August last year, which
crazy
seems like not that long ago, but also many years ago. It's so interesting how time has changed since. I don't know if it was COVID or just as you get older in life, I'm like, where do the days actually go? Like, it's like
I just had a guy in town. Yeah, I just had a guy in town today to have a lesson, and he said, how do you keep track of which day it is? Because it's always sunny and you're always riding horses, and you know the commute is about 100 yards. He said, like, how do you know which day you're riding on? You know, so yeah, that happens.
Yeah, I've got to remind myself constantly. And you know, especially if you're someone like me, you don't do 9 to 5. Like a weekend is just another day. I know you guys, you know, you have downtime on Sunday and that's your day, but it's still, I think that's probably the one day where you're like, I know what today is, but every other day it's like, it's another day to be out with my horses or enjoying what I'm doing.
That's exactly what I said to him. I said, the only thing I have is Sundays, and Sunday we go to church in the morning, and that reminds me, like, oh, that's the end of the week again. I said, otherwise, every day is the same. It just, every day is the same, and every day is different because, you know, the little buckskin mare we were chatting about earlier is like, you know, was a sweetheart yesterday, and today was not.
So when I rebranded this, I added the Let's Talk Horses, Life and Living, because a lot of the time these conversations, and even the one you and I had, it centers around horses, but it's really about life. So, yes. And you know, a lot of our conversation before was, I mean, we went in so many directions. It was really cool. If you haven't heard it and you're listening to this one, stay with us and then go back and find the other one as well, because it was a really cool, some really cool stories, and you're an inspiring person, and I love how you how you look at things and how you go about training. I love on your Facebook page as well. I've been, you know, looking through your stuff again. Jim Greendyk has developed a reputation for being kind and successful in the show pen. He lives and loves the game, and I just think, like, that's really what it's all about. And that's why I added the, you know, interesting conversations with inspiring people. So anyway, tell us a little bit about this mare this morning. So you said you've squeezed in a ride on her and then another one before we record the podcast. And, you know, you rode her yesterday. She went well. And then what showed up today with this horse?
You know what? I mean, it's 2:30 in the afternoon here, and I was on my first horse, I think at 7 this morning or something. So, you know, we got several down, and, you know, I think one of the hard things where, yes, we're joking about how every day is the same. It is. Here in Scottsdale, every day is the same. The sun comes up and it's perfect weather and there's a light breeze and you're riding horses. It's always the same thing. And then, you know, certainly on the other side, it's never the same, you know, and every single horse is an individual and every single horse has its days. And, you know, so the case in point, we were talking just before we got started here, I still have one in the cross tie right now as we're talking, because I do work 100 meters from home. And so I'm back in the office and it's the best life ever. But I said to my assistant, I said, you know, I'll just lope this one. I've got 45 minutes and I don't ride the horses that long. I mean, if I ride for a full half an hour on one, that's a pretty consistent, like that's a long time because it's intense. I mean, you know, jog around, warm up, you know, steer, all that sort of thing aside. If I train on one for a half an hour, that's a long time. But I mean, it's focused, it's intense, it's whatever. And so I got started on this mare. I thought, I'll have 15 minutes, 20 minutes to ride that other one yet. So he has a second one, you know, sitting there, saddled up, ready to go in the cross tie. And then this mare is a beautiful little buckskin, 5-year-old, kind of cow horse bred. Very cool. Big stopper. It's owned by a little girl from Utah. And she and her mom are amazing. Actually, her older sister has one with us as well. And this little mare's a firecracker. Like, you know, she can do the maneuvers and it's really fun. And I had just mentioned, like, yesterday she was great, just kind of steady and quiet and easy. And I said to Lane, I said, you know, this mare's really starting to grow on me. Like, I'm liking her. She's a lot of fun. You know, she's getting to be pretty cool to train on and ride, and, you know, starting to pick up what I'm putting down. And then I went out there and loped off to the left, and she was a fire-breathing dragon and wanted to honk and breathe, and, you know, like, well, you know, here we go, steering around. And I do a lot of steering to balance the motion. You know, I mean, you can sit back and you can pull on a horse on the circle all you want, and all you do is get them to hate you and the circle. So I do a lot of steering, you know, 45 and 90-degree angles, steer to the inside and go across the circle, and steer again. I mean, and I guess the next horse that I was planning to ride is still standing in the cross tie. And I told Lane, you may as well ride that one, because I have 10 minutes to get ready for this podcast, and I'm going to have to run up to the house and plug my camera in. And that's life. You know, that's the life part of it. Everyone imagines on these podcasts and on all these things that, you know, social media influencers make millions of dollars sitting around drinking beer and doing, you know, TikToks or whatever it is that people imagine. And the reality is that it's a grind every day. Every day is the same, but that horse came out, and certainly for whatever reason, now the weather's changing. It's been very warm here. It's been, you know, in Celsius, it's been 27, 28, 32. And we're just in April. It's been really, you know, warming up decent, but it's supposed to be 12, 8, 14. Like, Scottsdale isn't always warm. And so it's windy today and perfect blue sky, and it's probably 24 degrees. But it's going to cool off tomorrow and into Saturday. And yeah, maybe she was just feeling it. Maybe she feels the weather changing, but I mean, I loped for a solid 45 minutes. I mean, it was 22 and a half to one way and 22 and a half the other way of just loping circles. And then she stopped huge and she turned in the middle really cute. And I stepped off at center and put her away. But, you know, not every day is perfect Instagram reels. Not every day is making tons of money off of social media and, you know, living the high life. Very little of it has anything to do with that. Most of it is an everyday grind, and you have to enjoy the process. If you don't enjoy that process, you start to fight it and hate it, and, you know, and then you drink too much beer.
And we talked a lot about this on the first episode as well, like this real, and the real consistency of the training, and the consistency of what you need to deliver to your horses every day to get those results from them. But I just really loved the moment you brought it up. It really reminded me how you as a trainer will work with the horse you have today, you know. And, you know, it's great when you show up and a few days in a row they're being their perfect selves, but the one day that they have this side that comes out that you're like, hey, this was going to be a 30-minute session, it might have been a 20-minute session, and now it's going to go for as long as it needs to go for you to get to that space. And then the timing is, I will step off and let you go when we get there.
Yeah. And I think, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying for yourself as well, like where there's that level of I don't know if it's dedication or what that word is, but where it's like commitment, I guess, to say we're going to do this job until the job's done right.
It's such a hard thing, you know. The gentleman that was here for a lesson today, he's an Israeli gentleman that was in town, and whenever he travels, he likes to find a guy to ride with and take a lesson and try something new. And he was very interesting. And he said, so how do you know when to ride harder and when to ride less? And I said, man, you know, if I knew that, this would be way simpler. You know, like, that's the everyday question of, like, when do you go for it and when do you let it play out, and when do you say, yeah, we're not going to start that fight today? Because I don't believe in riding until you win every time, because horses are also physical and emotional animals, right? Like, you can't just say, well, I'm going to ride this thing until it gets it, because, I mean, that's giving the horse a lot of credit for its mental capacity to understand what it is that you're trying to make it get. You know, like, does it make sense? You know, and so I don't believe in the you have to always win philosophy at all. There's lots of days where I'm like, you know what, today's not the day. I think the biggest thing is discipline, to discipline yourself to keep the emotions and that kind of, what's the literary term for it? Boy, when you give something human characteristics, you know, when you kind of, you know, you're giving that horse like it came out and it wants to piss you off today. It doesn't. No. And so I think the biggest thing is discipline. The biggest thing that I've had to learn myself, because I'm super driven and I'm super aggressive. I mean, I didn't, you know, we talked about this the last time. I didn't get here because I was good at picking my nose, although that made me feel better on occasion. You know, I got here because I worked hard and I want to go and I push and I want it worse than anybody and I'll do whatever it takes to make it happen. But then the discipline is remembering that horse doesn't care. That horse doesn't care what your goals are. That horse doesn't care what you think you want to achieve today. And you have to take the emotion out of it. I can get really frustrated when one comes out great yesterday and rides around great. Today comes out edgy and you think, what in the world's going on? And you get thinking like, what did I do wrong? And what do I have to do more? And I got to teach this thing something and what's wrong with it? And you know what? It is what it is. If you put the time in, you ride the horse, you put it away, you don't beat it up, you don't make it sore, it's either going to get better or it's going to get worse. And you actually have less to do with this than you think.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that so much about the human emotion aspect that so many people put onto animals in general, horses especially.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, this horse is nasty in this way, or it's an asshole because of this. And it's like, well, not really. I mean, I think they're really very much just relying on what's happened probably in the last 10 seconds or hour or so in their life. And it's something that it's something they've used to thrive on this planet for so long, because they react to the situation that they're in. They don't hold on to emotions like we do. And they definitely don't have a concept of time. If I'm like, okay, I've got an hour, I'm going to go out and I'm going to do this and this and this with my horses. They're like, I don't know what an hour is. I don't know what the hell this is, what you're talking about.
No, I have no idea what dinner time is for you or your kids or your husband needing to go out this evening. Like none of that makes any sense to anybody.
And I mean, social media is such a double-edged sword that, in my opinion anyway, and I'd love to hear what you think about it. I mean, where we can use it to our advantage, but then there's so many, because obviously the algorithms know horses is what I want to see. So everything that comes up on my feed is around horses. And a lot of it you've got to take with a grain of salt, especially if you start reading some of the comments that people leave. I'm like, oh my goodness, the keyboard warriors out there that think that they know this person and this horse's life story from a 10-second video, a 30-second video. It's very interesting the age that we live in now, where we are so overwhelmed and exposed to so much content and information. How do you work? How do you navigate through that? Do you steer clear of social media? Do you just use it to your advantage? Or
that's a great conversation, because you've
got kids too, sorry, but I mean, that's another part of it, right? Then you're a father and you've got these little impressionable human beings growing up in a world that we live in now as well.
Yeah, it's really a struggle. It's really dangerous, because obviously I do social media, I'm 100,000 followers on Instagram and 73 something thousand on TikTok. I mean, it's a part of what I do. Absolutely. But I think you have to be careful that it doesn't own you, for one. You have to be careful that you remember what it is. It is just 10 and 15-second clips of someone doing something and an opinion about this, or someone's idea about this. I think you have to remember that it's exactly that. I mean, let's take into, I don't know if you guys saw that where you're at, but that viral clip of that veterinarian just 2 weeks ago that was in Vegas here. And, it's a short clip of him. I know more about it than the video clip, because the young lady that's standing outside the round pen there, while he's gelding this wild Mustang, is actually a student of mine on my reining masterclass, and I actually texted when I saw it. It was global outrage over this, of course, and it looks terrible in the video. I don't condone anything that happened in the video, but when I text Grace to make sure that she was okay, I she said, you know, just remember that this was a wild Mustang that these people wanted us to geld, and it tried to come after us several times, and it was unbroke, unhandled, you know, and your veterinarian is put in that position because he's the professional, like that's what he does for a living. Yeah. And so he should know better. And it's so easy, you know, and I mean, to go all the way down that, I mean, apparently that veterinarian was, you know, very well known to her. Grace has been one of my students in reining masterclass. She's been here in my yard. She raises her two young brothers on her own because her parents have gone separate ways. Her mom is really in the Vegas scene and it's gone badly. And her dad is a very religious man and they've gone very different directions. And honestly, her two young brothers, she trains horses, she works here and there, and she's 21 and raises her two teenage brothers on her own, you know. And so just to tell you the whole story about this is that when you know someone actually personally, and then you see that video clip come across your desk as it did mine, and then you see the comments, and I mean, I phoned her and talked to her, and she was receiving death threats from all over the world because she was standing outside the round pen while the veterinarian kicked that colt to try to get him up and keep him away from them and figure out how to, you know. And so that's the really dark side of it is when you know the people in the video, when you know the rest of the story, when you understand that this is 10 seconds. Yes, it looks terrible. Yes, I don't condone what was being done. But now that veterinarian has committed suicide in Lake Mead outside of Vegas because, and I knew about this before the media knew about this because Grace said, you know what, we just left and we're trying to find him because he's gone, and he's left a wife and kids over something that certainly should not have happened. But where is the line? Where do you go to a customer and say, I'm not doing that for you because it may get me in a bad situation? Well, you're the veterinarian. That's your business. That's what you do. Like, how do you handle this? How do you deal with this? How do you navigate all of the uncertainties that come with working with animals? Yep. In an age where everyone has a cell phone of high quality and posts straight to social media, especially if they feel like they don't want to pay your bill or pay what it is that you charge them, or, you know, whatever opinion those people had when they took the video, they clearly didn't care about him or him. You know, the video went viral and it was posted, but did anybody go to him and say, hey man, like that was uncalled for? Does anyone ever actually have face-to-face interactions anymore? Or do we go to the court of public opinion to get our opinion validated by a whole bunch of strangers, millions of people around the world, you know? And that's a real, I mean, I hate to be that heavy, but that's like, I'm close to that one. And I've texted her now this week and I don't have verification that she's even, like, I've not heard anything back in 3 days from Grace. Yeah. And I know that her family is so small. I have almost no other connections to say, hey, where is she? Does anybody know if she's doing okay? And I mean, this is a hardworking, tough 21, 22-year-old young lady who's raised her brothers on her own and has either been smart and gone off the grid and just tried to let it go down, or worse, you know, and I actually don't know. So that's the dark underside of the social media, of what technology has allowed us to do. We can trash stuff, and it's very close to me because for years in Canada, I ran a high school academy with grade 10 kids, and they came out, and every year we had a great time and it was wonderful. But at some point you are mid to late 30s and white and male, and that is the demographic for something to happen. You know, I mean, it just is. I hate to say these things so blank and frank, but it truly is. And you get nervous about doing things, about joking, about laughing, about having a good time, about being just open and fun and joking with people, because you don't know, something comes back and it suddenly becomes something. And if it is, that's on your conscience. If it's not, the court of public opinion will vilify you long before anyone ever finds out that it was a story.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the thing that social media removes completely is the context of the situation. Like you lose all of that context, and where, because we all make mistakes. We all do stupid shit in our lives where we're like, damn, I probably could have handled that differently. I could have approached that differently.
100%.
Yeah, but the thing with something like that, a short clip about a guy handling a horse maybe incorrectly in the moment, he doesn't get a chance to actually reflect on that himself and
no.
come to that conclusion of like, okay, I could have handled that differently. I'm gonna, whatever's required, apologize, talk to the owners, like whatever's required to kind of reconcile that in his world. That's completely taken away. And as you said, the court of public opinion, completely void of the context of the situation. And I don't know about this. This hasn't come across. I haven't seen it, but it does remind me of the Olympic dressage rider who
Charlotte Desjardins.
Yeah, who was schooling the young girl and overusing the whip, but you don't know the context of any of that situation. And obviously that short clip, you're like, okay, it doesn't look very good.
Yeah, I thought the same. I thought, well, it doesn't look great. I mean, maybe this happens all the time. Maybe it never happens ever. I don't know, but I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but the thing is, these people just get stripped away from them to actually learn anything or to be able to reconcile the situation themselves, because the whole world becomes involved. And so how is that? Like, how do you work with that, having young children? Like, what education is there something that you guys have with them where you have, a specific way to talk to them about this sort of stuff? Do you limit screen time? Like, what is it that you guys do to help your kids navigate this world?
Well, we're, we homeschool them. So, I mean, they are here. I think that's a huge way to work through that. I mean, the kids are 14, 11, 8, and almost 4. Yeah. And so they're homeschooled, which is a great way to know what's happening and when it's happening, hopefully sooner than if they're gone all day to school.
Yeah.
Second, I think we have these open conversations. I think they know that I do social media very, very intensely, but they know that it's not my identity. Yeah. Cool. I mean, we just had a power clinic here, and I had people from Hungary and France and Canada and the state of Montana, and they all came here to ride for the week during one of my power clinics. And even my help, Lane, he's like, man, do you even realize, like, people come from all over the world to ride with you? And I said, yeah, I guess they do. It didn't really cross my mind until you said something. They're just cool people, and they're just in the yard, and we just have dinner together and ride horses. I don't know. That's what I do. So I think you have to stay, well, same thing. You got to take the emotion out of it. If it starts to be your identity, or if it starts to be something, if you are what you've created, then you're in trouble. And so I think I'm open about that. That's the way that I deal with it with my kids. Like, you can't be cooler online. If you're going to do that, if you're going to be who you are as an online presence, you need to know that you're going to be the same person when people drive in your yard. You're going to be the same person when people meet you on the phone or here on a podcast. You have to sound the same, act the same, be the same. Otherwise, you cause yourself this crazy dichotomy where the filters that you use on Instagram to make yourself look amazing keep you from ever going out in broad daylight, because no one will recognize you as the same person.
Yep.
And this happens emotionally, this happens ethically, this happens, just physically, young lady using, all kinds of filters on Instagram and create an image about herself that she wishes she was, but now she never leaves the house because she certainly doesn't look like that in real life. It's like lip syncing for a band, everything's auto-tuned, everything's lip synced. I mean, just sing. If you're good, you're good. If you're not good, you're not good. You have to be realistic. And that's hard to do in a commercial world. Everything is about the money. Everything is about the likes. Everything is about the clicks. Everything is the ad revenue. It starts to own you if you don't understand what it is.
Yeah. And I think like educating children and for ourselves as well, because when we were younger, we didn't have any of this. Like I miss the days where the only way you'd get in contact with someone is if they were home and you called them on the landline or you ran into them in the street. It's like if you wanted to contact someone any other way, you wrote them a letter. It was a completely different world to what it is now. Or you drove to their house and knocked on the door.
Sure.
But I think like that authenticity aspect of it, which, it's something I've been looking at a lot lately because we do a lot of online stuff. The career I have out, horses aren't really my career. It's more of a passion. And what I do is really, I coordinate events around the world and I get to travel and I get to meet amazing people. But we also have a lot of people that join us online. And I always have this thing of encouraging people wherever you can to get into a real live event and go and meet people. Like, you have your masterclass online, but then you are this invitation for people to come and engage and connect with you in person.
Yeah. It's social media has allowed us to throw out X number of years of personal contact with someone over a single post that we disagree with. Like you can know someone at work for 10 years and you've always liked them and you think they're cool, whatever. And you've had lunch in the cafeteria 100,000 times. And then suddenly they post something politically that you disagree with or religiously that you disagree with. And it's entirely okay to cancel a decade of friendship, acquaintance, companionship, work colleagues, whatever. It's entirely okay to cancel a decade of that over a single package of bits and bytes.
Yeah. And again, the context of whatever you've read or seen is completely removed. You've just seen that moment in time, which is also interesting as well, because I think a lot of, especially young people see the images that are portrayed on social media. And, a lot of these people, especially representing, it could be in the horse world, but I think it's mostly much more around fashion and fitness and diet and these sort of things where it's almost like you never get to educate yourself or figure stuff out because you're just being pumped this information about the next best thing. And I often find myself being caught up in it of like, oh, I need to change this because I saw it on Instagram. And I'm like, hang on a second. Like, where did our journey in life of learning for ourselves go in order to be replaced with something that someone's portraying online that is really probably not even very true? Like, they take the best of their life, the best 10 seconds of their day and portray that as though it's something that's really true for them. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the horse training thing, when you watch some of them, you think the horses are always amazing and they always go great. I mean, if you know me at all, I mean, I'm happy to post myself bouncing 4 feet in the air or missing a stop or, I mean, the reality is like the artists that get good painted badly a lot. The musicians that get really good played badly a lot. The trainers that train really well rode badly a lot. There's no magic to that, but you get that idea because you see the perfect sliding stop clips. You see the perfect spin. You see every single lead change. You see all the draped rein. You watch every single live feed for every reining show around the world. You can watch it in HD and you see the best horses at the best moment in time, and you get, and I think that's my favorite thing about the power clinics here. I was joking, Sam, the gateway drug to reining, because, you can come here in the yard and you can see actually how it works. And I don't hold anything back. I don't gatekeep on anything. Like, if you're the next superstar, I'd love to be part of helping you to do that. And if you're going to be an amateur, ride for the fun, learn a few things, I mean, you're never any competition to me. So why would I gatekeep anything or hide anything? It doesn't make any sense. And I think we've talked about that before.
Yeah, but I think it's also so cool to look at, like, because so many people out there are looking for people to learn from, to be inspired by, to learn from. And I think, I read a post the other day by a lady I follow who's right into the biomechanics of horses, and she works a lot with getting the horses' bodies right. And she talked about, if you're going to choose a horse trainer based on their their own horses, like, because
Sure.
they're going to show you their successes. Like, it's easy to find people's successes online. It's easy to hear about them because people often don't talk about their failures. But she said if they don't have horses of their own that they're also working on and that they're only ever churning through, you know, she had this kind of little list of like, hey, go and find a trainer. But if you're looking for a trainer, look for these things. And I thought that was really cool. But also in everything in that we look for in life, when we're looking for these inspiring people, find the people that are willing to, as you say, not gatekeep anything and be open with their shortfalls as much as their big successes.
Yeah, I think I mentioned this to everyone that comes in the yard. Like, there is no magic to this. And it was even more apparent. I always imagined this, but, you know, even for me, being in Canada, being, you know, quite a ways removed from the, you know, let's say big time, you also see a lot of it through social media. Even for myself as a professional, even doing it for 17, 18, 20 years before we moved here. Coming down here, moving to Scottsdale, being downtown, you know, so to speak, Horse Trainer Row with Martin Milstetter and Andrea Fapani and Marco Ricotta and Arno Homstetter and Steve Ross. You know, if you watch any of the live reignings, you know, Steve does all the commentary. Very, very cool guy. And that is one thing that has really, really dawned on me is certainly there are guys in this neighborhood, horse trainers in this neighborhood, who have noticeably more experience than I do, who are quicker to see an issue and more aware of how to fix it, which is one of my biggest reasons for living here, because I love it. You know, if I have an issue, I can phone just about the best guys in the world, and I can go there in a 2 kilometer, 3 kilometer drive. I can haul my horse over there and I can ride for 2 hours and come home again, you know, and now I know what I know. And maybe I know a little bit of what I didn't know. And I know some of what he knows. So, I mean, it doesn't get worse, you know, but what I did notice here was very, very apparent. One, certainly there are guys here with much more experience. They've done thousands and thousands of reining horses, you know, like so many every year in this neighborhood. But the other thing that I saw was that they're not doing anything different from what I did in Canada. Can I become smoother? Can I do less? You know, can I go slower? Can I be more precise? Can I learn how to be a better steward of what I have, you know, like not using my leg up all the way, not using my hand up all the way? Certainly. But have I seen anything that was groundbreakingly different, or wow, I never thought of that? Or no, the best guys in the world are doing the same thing you and I are doing. They just are probably doing it a little smoother. They're doing it a little softer. They're doing it a little more committed. Whatever it is, they're doing a little more of whatever you and I are doing. But I would say, when you drop yourself in the middle of any of those things, whether it's fitness or family or horse training, I only know horse training. When you drop yourself in the middle of that, you will find that those gurus are not that different than you, but they probably have a little more experience. They've done it badly a little longer, and they've learned how to adjust the things to be a little bit finer. And I think that's probably the biggest thing that I've seen.
Yeah, that's so cool. And I think what I take from that is, and something I've worked on a lot, especially in the last few years, is really trusting myself. And developing myself as a person. And, you know, you take inspiration, like you said, you watch other people, you take inspiration from the leaders of your field or the gurus or whoever they are. But at the end of the day, you go to bed with yourself, you wake up with yourself. It comes down to that really strong self-awareness and self-belief. And I think no matter if you're aiming for the top or you're happy to, you know, cruise through life and just enjoy it, as long as you have that authenticity and that truth with you, to me, that's a successful life. That's someone that's really nailing this game, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. You know, it's interesting because since we talked last time, my sister worked full-time for me, and she's moved on to go work for someone else because she's 21 and she wants to chase it and go. And, So we talked about this. She went part-time working for a guy down the road, see if it would work. And, it's worked out great. And I have a new guy working for me, lives in the yard here, a young guy that's, wants to learn what I do and how I do it. And, he's got a younger brother who's 13 and wants to get into this and come into it. And, he's thinking, if I build a family thing, kind of like you did, I dream about that. But you talk about success. I mean, I'm 40 now. I turned 40 in February, and I've got 4 kids in this beautiful spot in Scottsdale, and I can buy and sell horses and train and do the clinics and travel. And, to me, that's a lot of fun. Do I need to go to every single reining horse? Do I need, or a reining show? Do I need to make $1 million as an NRHA rider? I mean, if I have a good enough one and I start winning money, I probably would have fun doing that. But success is different. Emily wants to go and chase it and be at more horse shows, and she's 21 and she may as well, go do that. I would never get in her way. But what success is to each person is different. And I would say that the guys that I watch who struggle the most are the ones who are the quickest to throw out the baby with the bathwater. Like they're riding, they're doing pretty good. Then they go and see somebody do something and they throw out everything they were doing before, and they start the program all over, and they're going to do everything this way. It's like those friends, and I'm sure we've all had them, the friends that every 2 years they get a new job and they move to a new town because it's a magic new job and they're going to start over. And you just think, man, you're one thing you did do is start over. You started over at the same place. You were 20, then you were 24, then you had a wife and a kid and you're 28, and and you've started back at that same spot every 3 years over and over and over, rather than life's tough. You're going to make the mistakes. But trust yourself. If you do the work, if you're honest, if you show up, if you're true with people, stick with what you're doing, and it will look. I've always said, if I look after the reining horse industry and the people in it will look after me.
Yeah. And it's interesting, that analogy with people constantly chasing this thing outside of themselves. Like I remember I had a friend once, and he was like, Sarah, no matter where you go, you will always be there. It's like this thing where we're trying to get something outside of ourselves, where, again, it's like what you're saying in this thing I've really delved into, and this thing of like really developing you as a person and seeing where that takes you, and allowing like the different ebbs and flows of life to happen, like what you said with your sister leaving, but that opened the door then for these 2 new guys to come along, and who knows what doors that will open after that. But when you have this sense of self-worth and like a really strong self-opinion, I guess, it's like everything around you can happen, and you're like the rock in the stream. It can all be going on around you, but here you are, and you are so rock solid in your life, and from that you can make those choices and go in the direction that's really going to bring you the feeling of success, and not based on what your neighbor's doing or the person on social media. It's like, that to me is a truly successful life.
Well, and that's the crazy thing, as Glenn was a trainer down the road here, and he and I were just chatting the other day, and I made mention to him, and this is more than I should share, but I told him the other day, I said, if I hadn't got that horse of mine sold the other day, I think I was down to $5,000 in my bank account, and I thought, man, like this is crazy stuff, and that's, everybody sees 100,000 on Instagram, and they see the crazy horses, and they see all the videos, and they think it just goes amazing. But as an entrepreneur, one day you got $2, and then you got 200,000, and then you got minus 12, and I mentioned this, and he's 10 years younger than me, and he goes, "Wait, what? Are you serious?" I said, "Yeah." I said,
no one told me that. I didn't read that in the fine print of this.
Yeah, I said, that lady drove in the yard, and I had my horse for sale for $22,000, and she didn't know it yet, but she was going to buy that horse. I didn't push. I didn't try to make her buy that horse. I just knew in my mind that horse needed to sell today, because that's how we were going to make it again for 2-3 months and coast along and whatever, other things, your family, things come up medically. There's so many things that happen running a place, running a farm, running a business, that everyone imagines, everyone can do your gross revenue. They know how much you charge every month for horse training, and then they count how many horses you have in the barn, and then they know what you make,
Yeah.
And so he was like aghast at this. He couldn't believe this. And yet, I always chuckle and say, like you're rocking the stream. I would like to lead by pull and not by push. So I'm not behind everything, trying to push it all, going left and right and push it all. I'm going straight and I'm pulling the rope. And if you want to come along, hang on.
Yeah.
I'm going. And if we drag you a certain distance and this is where you are, and this is, if you work for me for 3 years and you're coming along and your horsemanship's improving, and then you say, you know what? I want to let go and do something else.
Yeah.
Perfect. Sounds good. Have fun. Enjoy yourself. If you ever need anything, let me know. If I can help you in any way, like, I'll certainly support you. Go and do it. And I'm going to keep going straight ahead, pulling that rope. Whoever else wants to grab on the way by, grab on the way by. When you're done, go ahead and let go. But in the meantime, I've always got that rope over my shoulder and I'm still going that same direction, and my goal is at the end, my goal is tied to the end of that rope, and I'm dragging myself and dragging my own goal. And whoever wants to come along to help out or hang on or go along for the ride is very welcome to. I love it, but I never push anyone. Like, if you don't want to come along, just let go. It's fine.
Yeah. And I think that's a true leader. Like, in my opinion, I heard a very dear friend of mine once say, a true leader is someone that goes no matter if anyone else follows them. And I was
I agree 100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know that I'm one, but that's what I dream about,
Yeah, no, but I think exactly what you just said. It's like, and if we all had a little bit more of that, I think it also, it's where we can live harmoniously with the social media and with all of these things going on around us, because you become that rock in the stream again, where it's like people can choose whatever they choose. You're not here to change their mind. You're not here to make their life better. But it's like, I know the direction I'm going in, and you're more than welcome to come along with me, and you're more than welcome to choose whatever you want to choose. I think that's, like, for me, that's the hallmark of a true leader in this world. And I think a lot of the people that have changed the world have inevitably done it simply through those things. It's not the big, dramatic things that we all think life is about. It's really this day-to-day determination to go and not worry if anyone's coming along with you or not.
That's, there is no magic, there's no,
well, maybe little bits of magic along the way when serendipitous things happen, like your horse just sells that day and you knew that horse was going to sell. And it's like because there's also something to be said, I think, where you are so clear in your world about that, like that energy, that what you were just talking about, that it's almost then the possibilities are always, they have room to come in because you're open to it. You're open to receiving from the people around you, and the timing just becomes so crazily. And I would use the word magic. Like, there is this time.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I agree with you.
Yeah. And, whatever you believe in, and, we've talked a lot about this internal, this self, but there's also undoubtedly something outside of us that is willing to contribute to us as well, when we're willing to have that in our worlds and be that strength, that rock in the stream, that leader, or whatever it is that, you feel taken care of, even though at times it can be quite lonely, I guess.
It's very lonely because nobody understands that, and it's not really my job to tell people that. It's, that's not the deal. It doesn't work, and I always say God provides. I didn't get here because I was so intelligent. I mean, a lot of things happened, and you're just like, well, that had nothing to do with me. I can promise you that. And the funny, Sarah, the funny thing was about selling that horse was that lady, she comes to me after, I'm going to buy it. I really like her. And she got along great with her. It was a good horse. It was a good match. And I've talked to her since and helped her out with a few things. But you know what the crazy thing was? I tell the story about how she drove in and she didn't know it yet, but she was going to buy that horse. She says, Jim, you know what I love the most about buying this horse? Like, you didn't try to sell it to me. Like, you kind of just told me, I don't know if it's the right fit. I'm not sure if it's exactly what you're looking for, but just go and ride it and just decide what you want. If you don't like the horse, like, if you don't like it in 5 minutes, just bring it back here. It's she said, I think the best part was that, like, you never tried to sell me the horse. And I thought, well, she doesn't understand that under that undercurrent. I thought she needs to buy that horse. But it was true. I mean, I never, ever, ever want to try to push someone into something again, there it's come back to that word push. I'm never pushing someone. I'll go out and ride with you. I'll have a lot of fun. We'll talk. We'll go through everything. And if you want, I can pull you along. I'll help you out. I'll do the warranty work on that horse if you get stuck. But I'm not, I'm not going to push anyone into buying something. I'm not going to push anyone into doing, I'm doing it. If you don't want to keep doing it, you're welcome to get off whenever you'd like,
Yeah.
And that comes back to horse training because, the whole idea of getting frustrated with training your horse is that I'm going to push this horse to become something that it's not. If you do the riding, if you work through it, I think it's the same with your program, your training program. Like if you know what it is that you do to work through creating a sliding stop, then stay true to your process. And the horses that are going to stop great will stop great. And the horses that are not going to stop great will not stop better in spite of you kicking and pulling on them.
Yeah.
Like it's stay true to what you do. And then the horses that are predisposed to doing it will come to you rather than you trying to make everyone do what it is that you imagine they should do.
Yeah. And there's like what was coming up then when you were talking, even with this lady, but also with the horse training is like, when people are really needy, like it's like this energy when I need to sell this horse, I need this horse to do this. Like there's this real neediness that never creates the outcome that you're after. Like it's being open to the possibilities, to allowing the horse to show you what it knows, to allowing the lady to make the decision on her own, even though you knew that was the decision that she was going to make. It's like, it's so such an awesome conversation. Well, I had a whole page. I mean, my scribbles here. I had a whole page.
A whole page of questions we never got to.
Never got to any of them. This has been such a great conversation. So I guess just to kind of wrap things up, and obviously I'm going to ping you again in a few more months because I'd love to just keep exploring different conversations. And I'm still working on like different clinics and things. I want to get some more stuff happening here in Australia, but like, how's life overall? How's the masterclass going? Is that growing for you? I mean, last time we spoke, you had 38 countries. I think you were in Mandarin translation, Portuguese translation. Is the masterclass really still growing and expanding as you wish?
It's been really good. We've hired Lauren Beechler on. Well, she's Lauren Belcher now. I guess she's married, but I've known her since before then. But we hired her on a contract. So all of the new social media content coming out is all through her fancy camera. She does all the editing. It's really cool. So I've got her hired on, which has been, a big thing off of my plate. And then the masterclass has sold great. There's a couple more countries added to it. I think we're over 40 now. I don't know what the gross revenue is, but my favorite thing, and it's interesting, like Lane now works for me and he's come in from the outside, he's seen me from before and he's come to work for me. The last 3 years, my sister worked for me. So she's been around it. She just, I'm just her brother, it's just what we do. It's normal. But things like Lane saying, the craziest thing about your masterclass is that you have a Facebook Messenger group chat with all of your students. And he said, I'm on it. He said, I bought it before I came here for lessons and now I work for you, which is a crazy thing. But he said, it's crazy to me that every single question, every single video that someone posts, every single whatever, he said, it takes you 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever. And you answer them back, you talk to them, you send them a voice message. He said, I don't know anyone in the world that has that sort of commitment to their students or commitment to the program and making sure it runs cool. And again, it's one of those things like, people came from all over the world to ride with me. And I probably forgot to tell anybody this until he mentioned it, and, I talk to people all over the world, horse training questions and this and that through my masterclass and through that, Facebook Messenger group. Yep. And I guess in my world, Sarah, it's normal. It's what I do. It's what I wanted to do. It doesn't seem special. It doesn't seem, exceptional.
And yet it is.
It's just what I do. And so I guess that's probably why I come down to there's no magic. I mean, it's just doing it. Just do it. Yeah. If that's what you want to be, go and do it. If that's the kind of thing you want to build, go build it. I struggle with people who want to talk all day about ideas, but then never really try any of them to see if they're going to work. You know, that's a hard thing for me to understand.
Yeah.
So I love it. The masterclass has been great. We have some more students in the Zoom lessons. You know, that's always fun for me, because then I get video from all over the world. You can submit your videos to a Google Drive folder, and then during a Zoom lesson, I'll pull it up and we'll break it down and talk about it and go over it. And so I love to do that. I'm working right now with Ride IQ, which is like audio lessons. You know, what else is new? We're always doing something. The translation thing's been kind of on hold because everything got busy. And, you know, it's crazy when you get to doing something really well. Sometimes you got to back up a little bit and go, you know what, like, I don't want AI to give everyone a poor translation in there. Like, it's not going to be cheap. You know, it's not going to be like, how quick can we do this to make quick money on this, to take money from somebody. This is very much a project that, as we dug into it, we're like, okay, we got to get this better. It's got to be smoother. It's got to be very, very much in the local vernacular so that it seems natural, you know, things like that I want it to be really good. And so, you know, we keep pushing.
That's amazing.
But yeah, you know, for the rest, it really blows my mind, you know, how things click along and just kind of happen. And every day we get up and, you know, we eat breakfast and pray for good horses and good people. And we're grateful for the sunshine. And, you know, Sundays reset again. That's, oh yeah, we start Monday again. It's a new week. You know, and through all of it, I'm trying to get better. You know, through all of it, I'm trying to ride and show better and, you know, catch up with the guys around here that have done it at this level for 25, 30 years, you know. I would say you can't shortcut time. And then I spend all of my time trying to shortcut time, you know, and make up for that experience in this neighborhood. So, you know, don't do what I do, just do what I say.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, just to wrap this up, like, really, you know, to me, it's just been such a display of someone who walks their talk. You know, even talking about your masterclass, it's like the first thing you said was you have no idea how much money it makes, but this is what it does create in people's lives. So I just want to thank you so much. We might wrap it up there and leave people with a bit of interest in coming and joining us again sometime in the future. I want to thank you again, Jim, for taking the time out of your day and making time to chat to me and inspire me as a person, and hopefully some of my listeners out there as well. I'm truly grateful for this time and for all of you that you create for the horses and the people in this world. So thank you so much.
It's, you know what, it's my pleasure, Sarah. It's wonderful. I mean, it gives me an opportunity to talk about it. I dream that it makes a difference in somebody's life as well. You know, I think, you know, that's what we're all here to do. And I'm very grateful that I got to do it. I get to do it with horses, and, you know, it might not be the life for everybody, but it's certainly mine, you know. And I always joke about that, say, you ain't nobody coming to take my job. They're going to have to fight for it, because I'm pretty happy to do what I'm doing.
You can tell it very much shines through. Thank you again. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And we'll have Jim on again, I'm sure. And we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks again.
And who knows what we'll talk about then? You know, that's always how that goes. We probably won't talk about any of your questions next time either. So
next time I'm not even going to prepare. I'm just going to hit record and see what happens.
Oh, you're awesome. Thanks so much, Sarah. You're the best.
Bye, guys.